Hey, my name is Brandon Hayes. I am a student in RMU, and I really liked Greg's video blog, so I wanted to respond in kind and kind of give people a little bit more insight into what it's like inside RMU, what the experience is like, and what they could expect if they wanted to try and participate. I think the concept is really awesome. I love the idea of trying to cross this chasm between you have new people and you can kind of bootstrap that pretty easily. You can get with I know exactly the right books to give somebody to say you don't know anything about code. Well, I could get you to a point where you can write some code and be able to read through some and but beyond that, it there starts to become kind of a traffic jam that happens and a lot of programmers get stuck in this space, and it's where I've been stuck. I've only been programming for about a year and a half, and decided to make a career switch. Hated marketing, and had some friends tell me that I should check out programming, and I was really glad they did. But over the last few months, maybe the last 4 or 5 months, I felt really stuck. I felt like I couldn't advance to the next level, and so RMU came along, and I was very, very glad that somebody was going to step up, and I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to work. I assumed Greg would wave some magic wand and I would be a real programmer, and it hasn't shaken out that way. But I do feel a lot more confident in understanding what programming is all about. So the first thing I would say about RMU is that the people are astonishing. They're really, really amazing people. They come from all over the world, and they all are incredibly passionate and, without exception, incredibly helpful and kind. And I just don't run into people like this very often. Everybody involved in this program has two goals, and that's to become a better programmer and to help other people become better programmers. So I'm totally blown away by the people that I've met. I'm certainly in the bottom 5 to 10% experience-wise and skill level-wise, and so I feel a little guilty that I've had to lean really hard on the population. But I feel like I could lean as hard as I wanted to because of their generosity on this. I think that's kind of an extension of Greg's generosity, and he really sets the tone for this. He really is one of the kindest people you're ever likely to meet. They're definitely all smarter than me, though. I mean, it's been several moments in time where a conversation will be happening about some principle like metaprogramming or dependency injection or something like that, and my head it's everything I can do to keep the gears in my brain engaged and not just let them spin freely and daydream about something, because it's very difficult to keep up with these people. They're very smart. The second thing I would say about RMU is it's brutal. It's freaking brutal. The workload is insane. As for how many hours it takes per week, I asked that question beforehand, and I got a range of answers back. Because the objectives is maybe 10 to 15, I would just say, how many have you got? If you've got more, it's going to take more. It's just been all of my time. I have a little adorable 2-year-old and a lovely wife, and they're in the back seat for the month that I'm in RMU, and they understand. Well, they're understanding, and it's brutal though. So this last assignment that we had made me wonder if I'm meant to be a programmer at all. Like, maybe this isn't the right passion or career. It really made me question whether or not I am capable of this act of programming, whatever that is. Greg kind of called me out, and maybe a couple other people, for getting stuck on a tool, and I think that's indicative. I got stuck trying to make RSpec work and couldn't get my project, so I spent hours and hours trying to get my project to a point where I felt like I could really even start, because my tools weren't lined up properly. And Greg kind of railed against that thinking, and I realized how wrong and broken that is. That's a pretty big deal. It felt like I was supposed to be doing test-driven development, and I didn't know why. I just knew that I was supposed to, and I felt like I was supposed to use this certain tool to do it, and I didn't know why I was supposed to use this certain tool. It's just kind of what people talk about and what they do. So I had this kind of cargo cult mentality where I see somebody else doing something, and so I feel, well, that person's a good programmer and they're doing this, therefore I must need to do that also, and got really hung up on that instead of getting hung up on making something that works, which should be your first goal, and then doing it well should be the second goal. So this has been really educational, and the lesson that I really drew out of it is that emotionally you have to learn to deal with things that are out of your grasp. So I would hope that for future RMU students, I would hope that I would be able to kind of lend a hand and be some emotional support there. If not, certainly not in terms of skill set. But it's been pretty intense, and it makes me feel like what I've learned in the past. Does Rails make you stupid? Because I had to think about how to associate classes together without active record, because it does so much for you. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Rails makes you stupid, but I do think this reliance on tools that we get from experienced programmers, because they talk about their tool sets, because they're pretty grounded in programming, and so the things that are still interesting to them is the fact that new tools are constantly coming out. So the new programmers come in and see that these guys are always talking about the new tools and assume that must be how these guys got good at programming, and it has nothing to do with it. It's actually something you kind of earn later on after you've mastered these basics, and I'm just figuring that out in the course of RMU. So it's easier to talk about these tools and the rules within them than it is about principles, because principles are harder to apply and life is messy. So the third thing about RMU is, with all the frustration and all the feeling of giving up, sometimes the reward is astronomical. I mean, you think if you have those kind of lows in there, the highs are unbelievable, because first off, I'm making stuff that works. I'm making stuff. I'm participating in something where at the end of this, we're going to have individual projects that will say, that's my site, that's my tool, that's a thing I contributed on, that's my documentation, and that this is ours as a group. We own it as a group, and it's been really, really awesome to participate in shipping stuff. Where in programming, it's easy to get caught up in reading too many books and delving into too much theory and not shipping anything. And that's not what programming is for. Programming is to make things that do something. So I kind of got lost on that journey. I tend to do that, maybe overthink things a little bit. And Greg, smart guy as he is also experienced enough to know that overthinking is a dangerous pattern. So keeps bringing us back to reality and grounding us. So it's been really, really awesome. All problems are solvable. Help is out there, and the feeling that all problems are solvable and that there's help, it has been incredibly different than the prior. I would say I've learned more in the last 2 weeks than the prior 4 or 5 months, because I'm trying to win this war of millimeters by overcoming my lack of knowledge through Google searches or finding something in a book and trying to apply that, and then it doesn't really apply, but kludging it in anyway. Rather than building something, having it be kind of broken and handing it to somebody else to say, can you explain to me why this is broken? And they'll say, oh yeah, you just need to tweak this one piece. And then I'm back in business, and I've learned a valuable lesson from that. I would say the last thing I would say about RMU is that Greg really is an incredible guy. Everybody should have an opportunity to interact with him. I just can't say enough good things about him for taking up the mantle of doing something like RMU, to look at something that's fundamentally broken. And this is his whole attitude. He looks at something that's kind of fundamentally broken, and it's this huge mass of programmers that feel like they're stuck in the middle and not sure how to move to a higher level of being successful programmers. And he looks at that as, oh, there's a breakdown in the system. I wonder what I could do about that. Rather than most people would look at a problem of that magnitude and go, somebody should really do something about that. And I think I'm one of those people. I'd like to be one of those Greg type people. And ultimately, that's what I would like to say about Greg, is I think he's teaching people how to teach. I think he's teaching people because his example is so good, and his teaching style is really good. His teaching style is to step back and ask the questions, and then come in and offer thoughts and advice. I was really surprised, and I was a little frustrated because I wanted him to give me some answers on something. I was trying to get a straight answer out of him, and he said, okay, well, tell me how you would do this. And I'm like, dude, I don't know where you're taking me with this. And in the process, extracted more out of myself than I thought I was capable of. And he's just so good at this. I don't know that he knows that he's this good at this. I believe in what he's teaching. I believe in why he's doing it. I hope to stick around for future RMUs in some capacity, emotional support, or helping out with tools, or helping manage maybe as this grows. I don't know what possible contribution I could make, but I want to participate because I really believe in it. And I really appreciate that he went and took the first swing at this. I mean, and he swung really hard. He said, yes, this problem is really huge, and yes, we can do something about it. And it's a rare person that is capable of that type of thinking. And so that's the number one thing that I've taken out of RMU so far, is programming is full of problems that feel impossible. And very few people I think are less intimidated than Greg. So I want to thank him and the other RMU students, and I look forward to many more RMU adventures. And I really do feel like at the end of this month I will feel more like a real programmer rather than somebody that's kind of in this transition phase or stuck in limbo. So I don't even know how to express that gratitude. I'm just really grateful. It is really hard, and I've got about 15 to 20 more hours of work to do on my remaining projects, so I probably should get back to it.